Welcome back to another episode of Combustion RC. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down below. I don't ask that very often, so I thought I'd say it in this one so I don't forget again, because I don't do it in like every video. Anyway, let's get back to today's project. So in today's project, we're going to be looking at the SWORKz S12-3d once again. This time we're going to be going into bag E. Bag E is a huge bag. It's pretty much the rest of the car. It's what our chassis right there came in, as well as everything else. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera down here. We're going to open this bag together because there's so much in this bag. I want to make sure we're getting the right stuff. So go ahead and open your manual to page 11 and 12. This is where we left off last, and this is where we'll be at. We ended up here. Remember, we don't have a motor yet, so that's set aside. At least I don't. You might. If you did, you can go ahead and do this. Otherwise, I'm going to come back to that. So we're going to move on here to the chassis and bag E parts. So go ahead and open your manual. I'm actually going to do the reverse fold on mine so I can get it narrowed up. And we'll go ahead and get into this, but in the meantime, don't forget to caffeinate and hydrate. Oh, that's the good stuff right there. All right, so before we get going, you are going to need your pliers, 5.5mm nut driver, 2.5mm wrench, 2mm wrench, 1.5, and then if you got the zippy gun, have your speed tips ready. Just remember, on aluminum, hand, on plastic, you can use your zippy, and on carbon fiber, you can use your zippy if it's going through the carbon fiber. Just don't tighten it down, and then you want to do that by hand. You are also going to need thread lock, so don't forget your thread lock either. All right, now that we've got our tools, we can go ahead and get in the bag. So in bag E, we have a lot of parts. I'm sure some of this we're going to be pulling aside and opening a little later. I'm not going to open all this right away because there's so much in this bag. So here is rod ends. Not going to need those right away. You can see our chassis rails are in there, so we are going to need to get in that bag. Front shock tower, bulkhead, steering rack, battery brace. So it is nice that all this stuff is individually wrapped in here. This is our rear hub assembly and front steering blocks, all in that bag there. Oh, those are rear hubs. Oh, what are those then? Are those? That's interesting. Does it come with two different types of rear hubs? I think it comes with two different types of rear hubs, because these are like your more of your standoff style, where the screw goes in the top. And then you put your O-rings or your ball stud washers in here to move your link space. Whereas these look like more of an 8 scale hub with the different holes, and you do side mount. Very interesting design. I wonder if one of these is for carpet and one is for dirt, and they just send you both. That'd be cool. So there's our rear drive axles. Loads of hardware right there. Lots of hardware here. Hexes, ball studs, and some aluminum bits. Looks like the caster offsets, or top hats that I always call them. Sway links, more ball stud washers, axle washers, bearings. It's like C and D block. There's our hub offsets, steering blocks. Ooh, is that adjustable Ackerman on here where you don't have to adjust the plate? You can just change the hole? I like that. Very nice. That nice SWORKz laser etched. I always like that. That's cool. And some turnbuckles, which have that flat finish to them. So I wonder if those are titanium or steel. They have the flat finish like titanium does, so I don't know. We'll find out. Interesting looking hinge pin. It's like flared at one end with the nut at the other. Kind of like that design. This is going to get really interesting from here out, I think. So we know we don't need this stuff just yet, so we can go ahead and set all this aside. Ball stud washers we don't need yet. Hardware we do. Looks like the first hardware we're going to be getting into is flathead countersunks, which are in this bag right here. We need 10 8mm ones. I'm going to say is these guys here, because there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's the only one that has more than 10, and there's a lot more than 10 in there. Keep our hardware over here at the bearings and then set our parts over here aside. So first things first that I'm going to do is go ahead and slice this open. I'm only going to open this one this time because I want to make sure I'm not getting too much spillable since there's so much going on here. 4, 6, 8, and 10. All right. This is all of our big plastic parts. We got another baggie in here. Go ahead and take this bag out and throw it away. Here's our arms, front and rear arms, and pills, which are oval-shaped pills. It's interesting. And then we got our axle spacers. It's like 3 holes on the arms, front and rear, so pretty standard there. Nothing extra crazy like 4 holes or anything. I do believe the shock tower, wherever I set that, the shock tower has 5 holes, so that is much different than some of the others. All right, so here's one side channel, and here's the other side channel or side rail. So these are both the same parts tree, so that's cool. We got 2 parts trees of those, which means we get an extra bumper. Here is style of hub we're most likely using since we have aluminum offset pieces for that. All right, so now we need to get our chassis, which is behind me. That beautiful chassis right there. Big kick up. Big narrow kick up. Ow. Why did I even do that? Oh, my tooth is still there. That hurt. That was silly. All right, so that one's gonna go there. Now for this, if you have a Nugga, I recommend getting your Nugga because this is rather hard. I can tell already. This is, you can actually see the graphite fibers in it. I don't know if you can see that in that camera there or this one. You can see the graphite fibers though. So when you're screwing into the graphite fibers, you know you're gonna need some Nugga. I did have somebody recently ask me why I call it an Ugga. It's from being in the auto parts industry, an auto service technician, I should say. When you do this, it sounds like a Ugga. And when you're doing it on a big pneumatic gun, like you use for taking wheel lugs off or axle bolts and things like that, control arm blocks, they make some loud Ugga. And the running joke is, you say, how tight does it need to be? Oh, about 5 or 6 Ugga. It's just auto technician humor. I guess you got to be there. I will say this is going together much better than the Associated or the X-Ray that we built. I'm not having to flex or pull or twist or anything. This is literally just setting right in place of where these holes are. This is a much better quality kit for sure. If you remember when I put the front decking on the SR10M, I had to twist and pull and pry to get it to line up. I ended up having to stick a 1.5 in there and actually jamming it in place while I got the other holes to line up. On the SC6, I had to do the same thing. And on the X-Ray, I had to actually bend it out because it was curled in too far. So the fact that this is literally just going in perfectly, like I just even skipped 2 just to see if I could do it, and it lined up perfect, which is more than I can say for the SC6.4 for sure, because I tried to do that on that one and it would not do it at all. I do that as a test to see how well the product is actually made to the chassis. And on this one, it's absolutely perfect. So there's our chassis with our chassis rails. Like I said, I'm already highly impressed with this. This is very, very nice. All right, next thing we need is 7mm ball studs, 2 1.5mm ball stud washers, and then we need our bulkhead, sway link. I'm gonna need some other goodies here. All right, so we'll just move this up here. Whoopsie. And see, that's why I didn't cut a bunch of them open, because I knew I was gonna do that at some point. Do I need anything in this? Yes, I need set screws. I need the tiny ones or the almost tiny ones. What do we got here? 3x3s. So that's the ones that look like a square. If you're wondering why all I did was cut out a tiny triangle, if you've ever messed with set screws, well, you understand why. They're little, they like to fly away. They like to sing hymn 131, I'll fly away. Next, we need ball studs and ball stud washers. Ball studs are here. Let's go ahead and pull these apart. So here's our sway link pieces. Does it say? These go on the sway, yeah, these go on the sway link here. So we need both of these. I gotta tell you, I actually really like that these are individually packaged. It's actually easier than spending 20 minutes sorting everything out and then having to try to pull it out. You may say, yeah, but you gotta cut open all these little individual pieces if you want to do it clean. I would much rather do that than try to fight through it. Remember on the X-ray, they gave you a whole bag full of parts and you had to sort them all out. That was atrocious. Do I need the collar for the middle? Not for this one. Looks like the collar is probably for the rear sway link. Because this one's using these little dudes here. Which, it's not telling me to put a set screw in, but they're threaded for one. Ah, there it is. Oh, because I need to get 4 set screws out. My goodness. Read your own instructions, boy. Man with gray hair who is playing with toy cars. Sorry, this is not a toy. All right, and then we need a 1.5. Those are 2s, those are 1s. I only have one 1.5. What in the world? Aw, man. Aw, man. I'm supposed to have 2 1.5s in here, I think, and I only got 1. Or did it get squished in with one of the... You know what? Are those 1s or are those 0.5s? And that's... I don't know. That's why we have this, right? Zero that out. Oops, I got it. There we go. 1.58, and I got the package in there. So yeah, that's a 1.5. Because these are 1, yeah, and these are 2. Yep. I'm so smart. And those are little ones. Oh, the only downfall about being smart is that means that I don't have any other 1.5s. Unless, is this a 1.5? I think this is. Yay, we had one 1.5 from yesterday's package that was left over. So I'll just get that out. I mean, that happens. This is when you're putting, 2,000 parts into a kit, you're bound to lose something along the way. It's just part of it. I've had far more lost unassociated. That's a 2. Are these all 2? You know what? If they're 2s, I don't care. I'll put 2s on there. Well, come here. Part of me wonders, when I built that ball stud mount yesterday, did I put 2 2s on there, or did I put a 1.5 and a 2? Because I didn't realize that there's 1.5s in here. I put 2s on there. Cool, we're good. Cool. All right, so I'll put these 2 2s back. So I got the 1.5 out to put with this 1.5. And there's only 1.5 in there. So I'm wondering if they just accidentally got this one in that bag. That's not a big deal. Just something to look out for just in case you mix and match. But that's why we save everything in a little baggie on the side. So you want to make, baggie on the side. My northern came out right there. Okay, so there's those. Now we need our sway link, which we have right here. And and 112001 1.0. Okay. All right, and that's got one stripe on it. This has 3, so I'm assuming this is probably a 1.2 or a 1.3. And this is 1. Yep. All right, so 1 stripe is a 1, 3 stripes is a 1.3. At least that's how it works on this. I know the rear, it's different than the front because obviously they're different. You got different shapes there. So we'll go ahead and set this to the side somewhere. Somewheres. I need a bigger desk. Actually, I need more coffee. Let's caffeine here. I'm not shaking enough yet. All right. Oh yeah, ball studs. 7 millimeters long. 7 millimeters long. That is an odd size. Okay, it looks like there's 7 and 6. Is that right? Or is it 7 and 8? Let's see what the others are. I know that one is short. I think we have extra ball studs even. There's a lot of extra parts. I don't mind that. I like extra parts. I do believe all of these darker colored ones here are 7 millimeters in length because these here is measured out to 6 and these were right at 7. I just wanted to be sure, and it doesn't call for just 2 7 millimeters. I counted at least 4, if not 6. So I know we're going to need those and that. And then we need on this parts tree, actually I'm just going to snap this off so I can make this smaller. Oh, that came off almost perfectly smooth. You don't have to do this. I'm just a little particular. You know, particular. Did this one come off smooth? It's got a little. These don't have parts that move against them. This isn't necessary. You don't have to scrape it. I just like it smooth. There we go. Just little quirks. You know, I like to make sure everything's perfect when it goes together the first time. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our Ugga and put our ball stud on there and our ball stud washer. And these are going in hole number dos, two, do, zwei, whatever language you want to say. Hole number 2, the one in the middle. There we go. Those are in nicely. Good, good. And obviously they give you a ton of room through the bottom. You can put bigger ones in there if you want to. You can actually put in, if you're going to be, maybe not the front, but on the rear, if you need to like raise your rear like ridiculously high, if you're running outdoor and you want to run like 4 millimeters of ball stud washer spacer in the back, you can actually do that with these because they give you enough room to put a long one in there in case you need to pull them out and still keep a long one in. So that's nice. On the rear, it's kind of the same deal. These are like right flush, these 7 millimeters that are in here. So you can't really put a longer one in there, but it still gives you plenty of room to be able to move up, 2 mil on spacer there. You would have to put a longer one in if you're going up past the 4 mil of spacer that it allows. I have ran as much as 7, running loose dirt outdoor to try to get the rear end to set. It's just part of it, part of things as you learn and go how you like your car set. Especially with mid-motor cars, they sometimes need a lot of lowering to the roll center to get them to not want to just do things. Let's see here. Oh, that's cool. They even tell you in the manual that on this here, if you want to, you can even do it with just one screw front and back, and that will allow you to have more chassis flex. That's actually really cool. Very cool. And I believe there might be something that goes here to adjust rear flex. I'm not sure because this chassis is pretty stiff as it is. But yeah, we can pull some screws out of there and let this sucker flex a little bit too. Yeah, it's good to know that they suggest doing that. They even say to just start the build with 4 screws, but we're just doing them all. We can always adjust from there, so it doesn't matter. Where I'm going to be running at, if I run off-road, if I run oval with it, it's medium grip and tends to like it anyway. So, but if I'm running where I run off-road, the closest off-road track to me is a glued track. So it's on slicks and it's going to need a stiff chassis anyway. All right, so next we've got our sway link, which sets right in there like so. If you're wondering what keeps it from falling out, well, that's what these guys are for. So you're going to grab your 1.5 and a set screw. You don't have to do this, it's not necessary, but I do like to give it just a light brush of just a tiny bit of thread lock on there to help it from backing out. Okay, here's one. Like I said, just a really, really light brush. You don't want to go overboard because you also don't want to strip out set screws. There we go. All right, so all of our set screws are in place now. Do I got a blue ring? I don't, actually. Surprising. All right. I need to sit up a little bit here because I am hunched over. And that's not okay. So then we put this on here like so. And this guy gets moved up here and into the hole. I'll go ahead and just give it a little bit of snug. I don't know if that's exactly where I want that to sit at yet, but that's going to help hold this in so I can get this one on. All right, so now that's in there without wanting to fall out anywhere. Sweet. Looks like I need to give it a little bit more snug than that. There we go. We want it to be tight, but not so tight that it doesn't move. All right, and then these just go on the end and flush with the end with the ball facing out. And these you want to be nice and tight. Tighter than what I just did right there. You know, these actually have 2 set screw holes in them, and I've got lots of set screws in my bag, so I can't seem to get it tight enough with one, so I'm going to try 2. I might have to do one on each side. I thought it was just the one side was just acting a little weird, but it's not. It's actually... It's just such a tiny, tiny sway link. Yep, that's what it was. The sway link's just too small for the set screws. It wouldn't go through all the way, so we're going to go ahead and put a set screw on both sides. For a larger sway link, you probably wouldn't need to do this, because I've never put 2 screws in one before. This one's just so tiny, the screw just pushed it right aside. The good thing is they're actually locking against each other, and so it'll actually help them stay tighter too. All right, so there's that. So now we can move on to the next page here. Let's see here. It does want us to go ahead and set it on the chassis. And it looks like we're going to move that aside for the moment while we build our steering rack. So you're going to set that on the chassis. Sway link goes to the inside on this one, which is kind of like the newer carpet cars. But apparently it's a lot more consistent and smooth with the sway link on the inside instead of the outside. If not random like that. So I'm really curious as to how it's going to be. But look at that sharp kick-up angle on there. I mean, it's pretty hefty. I would say this is probably going to end up being somewhere around 27.5 degrees. Maybe not full 30, but close. All right, so now we need any countersunks? No, we just need button heads, which we haven't gotten into yet, which are over here. The bouton head. And they need to be 10 millimeter, which if I had to guess would be these guys. Good guess. Because these are 12, 16, ooh, 18. Those are 16. These are 14. These are 15. Interesting. All right. So now I know. First guess was a good one. Made 2 3x10 button heads. Oh no, not that many 3x10 button heads. I made two 3x10 button heads. Not 6. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Okay, then we need bar studs. Yep, 2 7s. And then 1 5mm steering stud, which I believe is this guy right here. Because he's super short. That might be less than 5. I want to cut this one out of here too and just measure them both. And just put this other black one in my parts tray. All right, and then flanged bearings. And we need 4 flange bearings. So all 4 of these flange bearings are going to come out of here. Okay. We got all 4 of our flange bearings, and then we need 2 3x6 1mm gunmetal washers and 2 3x4.7 1mm gunmetal washers. Okay, so there's our little bitty ones. And then we needed 2 1x. Cool. Got those. And now we need our steering rack components. Oh, wow. Okay, so already a positive over like the X-Ray, which claims to be luxury. This steering rack is actually aluminum out of the box. Look at that, nice black aluminum. See, that's the thing, is sometimes you see black pieces and you're like, oh, it's not aluminum. Or you know, it's plastic. Well, those are aluminum. This stuff's carbon fiber. So not everything you see that's black is, excuse me, plastic. So that, nice bell cranks here. Must be noon. Yep, hear the tornado sirens going off. Noon on Wednesday. Good old Oakley homie. All right, so we've got ears facing up, facing this direction. And go ahead and drop this in here. Take our 10 mil. We're going to drop a bearing on it, along with a part number 047. Oh, that's cool. So is that... No, it doesn't work. I thought it was going to be cool at first, because it's a 4.7 millimeter washer and the part number is 47. I thought that was cool. I thought it was meant to be that way, but then I looked at this other one and it's not. All right, so that washer and bearing goes just like so. All right. Now we are going to put a very, because you don't need to get it in the bearing, a very small dot of thread lock right on the tip of the screw. And are these identical? I believe these parts here are identical. They are. They are even stamped with SWORKz. Look at that. This is when you use your hand drivers. There we go. So tighten it down, but not too tight. There we go. And that's why you don't want to use no thread lock, because you can't have it all the way tight or it doesn't work. So grab our other 10 mil. Those could be longer than that. I'm just saying, that's barely in there. Did I grab it? Oh, did I pull out the 8 millimeters and I'm using them as 10s? Dang it, I did. Because we have 8 mils we have to use here in just a little bit, don't we? Yep, sure did. Shoot. Thought that seemed awfully short. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. At least we caught it before we got further along in the kit, and then we really made an oopsie. Where's my paper towel? Paper towel! There you are. There we go. Just a touch too much. There we go. That's actually in there now. Cool. But still nice and free. Okay, maybe not free enough. There we go. That's what we want to see. Now, yep, those are 8s. I'm sorry. My bad. Put that back in there so it's not in my way. And we'll go back over here. I'm going to do the same on this one. We're going to do our flange. Our tiny washer. Personally, I would almost put another one of these on there. Between the screw and the bearing, just so you can't over tighten it, so that no matter how tight you put it, it still sits on the race in the middle. But that's just what I would do. And then your bearing would be free no matter what. Make sure there's no blue on the bearing. There's not. I got really light on that one. That's good. There we go. You want them to be nice and loose like that. Like earrings. Dangling earrings. Alright, so now that that's done, now we can put our 7mm ball studs on the front with the ball stud washer for them. And again, a little dab of thread lock. Just enough to help hold it in there, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have the ball studs coming out, especially mid-race. And let's go through the back just a little bit. That's okay. Just means you have more room for adjustments. All right. And yes, the arrow is supposed to face the direction of these, because this goes, looks like it goes in the car like so, and then swings in the back. All right, now we need to get our 5mm ball stud, which I don't think this is 5. Well, that looks to be a 7. So the itty bitty guy here is our 5. Which is what I assumed, but you never want to assume anything. And if you're holding it facing, whoopsie, facing this way, it goes in the one facing you. That is a really nice rack assembly, though. All right. Now we need some more goodies. We need a 16mm all thread. Which is that guy. Okay. We need 3x14 countersunks. Looks to be these. I'm really glad I bought this caliper now. Oops, these. Okay. And then we need bearings. Which bearings do we need here? 5x8 by 2.5. Four of them. Let's see these guys. So those are 5x8 by 4s. Or 5x10 by 4s. Probably 10. Yeah. All right. And 1mm gunmetal ball stud washers again. How many of those do we need? Just 2? And how many more things do we need? 332076. 3320. What are you? It looks like it would be. All right. Since it is a black and white picture and I can't quite tell what it is, now I have to consult with the interwebs. 332076. Right? 332076. Yes. Part number does not show anything. Oh, here it is. It's these things. can tell by the shape and the length. I knew it wasn't these because these red pieces here are for the caster blocks. But this kit is so new that if you look up the part number, all it shows you is the kit. It just shows S12-3D 3rd edition. They don't have all the parts up yet for this, so it's nice to see that we figured that one out. Is this a 2.5? Sure is. All right, so that's a 2.5. That's the first time we're going to use our 2.5 bit. Excuse me. Oh, I just smacked my mic. Testing. Testing. Working in AV, that was something that always annoyed me, is when people would smack the top of the mic to test it. Like, don't do that. You're clipping everything and you can blow the speakers. Bad boys. Don't do that. Okay. Sometimes you gotta, if you're putting a bearing into aluminum, sometimes you gotta use a little force to straighten them out. If they get slightly crooked, they get stuck. And make sure they're down in there good, because these do pretty much pressure fit in. One of the few bearings that you don't change out very often. Wheel bearings, you know, you change out every few races, it seems like, so unless you're going with high-end ones. All right. So just make sure we're doing the right direction here. Go ahead and get that through. Uh-oh. There we go. Get through the other bearing. Like I said, aluminum is usually cut to a very tight tolerance. There we go. So now that that's in there, then we're going to have the all thread goes into the plastic? That's interesting. Very interesting. That's such a unique design. That's so cool. All right, so basically you're making posts. Very interesting. I'm not drilling this in by hand. That would be very annoying. Oops. Does it say how much to leave out? It does not. Sure. It's good to me. Oh my goodness. Just when I thought I was going to get out of allergy season here in Oklahoma because it's winter. Nope. You know what they said in the news yesterday? Cedar plumes. You ever heard of such a thing? Cedar plumes. Just, you can see clouds of cedar pollen in the air. So it's just a grand old time. The longer I'm here, the more I dislike this place. All right. Our washers go on here like so. It's very interesting. Okay. All right, so once you start feeling just the slightest bit of pressure, make sure you're pulling it out and going to the next one. Because the last thing you want to do is get these things stripped or something by staggering them too much. Such a unique design. So cool. There we go. Our rack is in. All right, and then these are for the front bulkhead. So I need a shim, which is somewhere in a bag. And then we need our bulkhead. So here's our plus or minus 2.5 degree bulkhead. And then the funky looking shim piece. Oh, it's right here. 1 millimeter shim piece right here. Look at that. Nice. Why are you screaming? Why is she screaming? Stop screaming like that. I'm trying to record a video. I'm almost done. Now sit down. Shut up. Harmony, that's the opposite of shutting up. Stop it. You're fine. Now let me finish. So we have our 1 millimeter shim. It says 1 millimeter right there. We have our front bulkhead. It's going to go up. The shim faces backwards. The nice thing is you can change that out pretty easily, so that's cool. And these go in the rear holes. Okay. Forgot to change out my dealio. Now this, I will say, is a much better design than the way the X-Ray did it, where the bulkhead comes apart when you, or the steering rack falls out when you pull the bulkhead out. I'm going to lift this up. Slide my shim in. And put that back down. Okay. And there we go. We've got our steering rack and bulkhead finished now. The next thing we can do is we can mount a servo. And put the shock tower on. Cool. We'll get to that here in just a few. All right, well, we're back. It is actually the next morning. Yeah, I said it was going to be just a few minutes, and then New Year's Eve things happen. So got all that going. So we'll get this one going here and see what we can do. As you can see, I've got a different shirt on than earlier. We're going to try this again. This is going to be take 3 of trying to get this part going. Kids ended up not napping earlier, and then I had to end up running an errand. And as you can see, there's a couple cars missing because that was Facebook Marketplace meetup. So had to go do that, and now we are about 9 hours away from where we started earlier. But got the head trimmed, and yeah. So we can get on with this now. Next up in the manual is going to be step 12. So you're going to need a servo. I'm going to say it's going to set right about there. Looks pretty good. First, no matter what time it is, even if it's 8:20 at night, make sure that you caffeinate and hydrate. Coffee pot was empty. All right, so first off, we're going to need your servo. And they do recommend having, or they tell you to put the servo horn that comes with in here, but this is just a plastic servo horn. I am always a fan of an aluminum servo horn. This one is, I believe it's an old factory team one I had laying around, but it's a 25 tooth, so it's perfect for Savox. And it's got the same offset as these horns do. I'm gonna go ahead and pull one of these out just to show you. This is the servo horn that it comes with. This servo horn is plastic. It's not that great, but as you can see, this one is a skosh taller, just maybe a 0.5 millimeter taller, but it is the same offset amount, so which is what we want. So the slightly shorter than this one, it's fine. We want this to be the same offset though. Or I should say this to be the same offset as that one. Words. We're going to need a couple countersunks here. We got a couple 3x8 countersunks. Those are very narrow. Those look like 2 mils. These look like 3x8s here. So let's double check here with their sheet. That is correct. We're going to need 3 of these. We're also going to need, looks like 2 6 mils, which are these ones that are right next door here. I'll go ahead and cut that open and get the excess peeled off there. All right, and then we have set screws. Excuse me, Miss Yasya screw, where are you? Now, where did I put my set screw bag? It's an all thread anyway. Oh, here it is. The one all thread right here. That's right, the other bag is what had the all thread in that we used up here for the bell crank. I am losing my mind. Okay, so there's our all thread. Okay, so we've got our 2 countersunks, our all thread. We need 4 3x6 button heads. And it looks like these are going to be for the servo itself. So we're going to use 3x6 button heads on the servo, which are going to be short dudes. Hey, short dude. Not 2x. Those are 3x8s. These are 3x6s here. Oh, these are even wide head. Is that what it says to you? Taper head. Yep. So sure enough, it's these guys. I'm just going to slice the side and make it a little quicker, since I need all 4 of them anyway. If you're wondering what a button head or difference between a button head and taper head is, you see the taper's got that big cone on top there, and that makes it a little wider to sit in here, so that when it's on the servo, it acts like a washer and a screw all in one. one 5mm ball stud. So that's this guy here that we saw yesterday that we weren't sure if it was the short one or not. And another 1.5. Interesting. Another 1.5. Ooh, I may have. So we don't need, or we don't have another 1.5, unless there's one, like I said, in this bag. Oh yeah, there's more in here. That's right. From our yesterday one. It's got our extra spring in here, our diff shim we didn't end up needing. Is that a 1.5? That is a 1.5. Perfect. So there was 1.15 left in there. And this is why you always save your hardware in an easy to access place. Like I said that earlier, but I want to say it again. All right. So the reason that I got this one out, I'm going to show you in just a minute. So the 1.5, it wants you to put that one. Okay, so the 1.5 goes on the ball stud onto the bell crank itself, or onto the servo horn itself. I'm not going to thread lock this because, like I said, I'm going to be taking this right back off and putting a low pro on here. I'm just doing this for sake of the kit. So there's that. All right, and then here's the reason that I did this. So you're going to need your 1.5 to go on there. And then we need, whoops, I forgot that was over here. Then we're going to need our linkage as well. So first we need this top plate for the, I believe that's a carbon fiber piece. Yes, it is. So there's our servo top plate, a nice carbon fiber piece there. And then we need rod ends. I think we need the super short ones too. Yeah. Get some short rod ends here. There's another plastic servo horn in there. It's a 23 tooth. No 24s though. I'm surprised there's no 24s. So everything seems to be coming with 23 and 25 anymore, not 24. And last I checked, Hi-Tech was a 24, and I think Hi-Tech is still around. I'm pretty sure there's a couple big names around them too. So that's interesting. But you want these little bitty guys, right? No, the little bitty cup-shaped ones. So we're going to do these little guys right here on the tree. So trade off, yeah, it's 224007L, and then they want, it says 3.5, but I don't see any 3.5s on these dealios here, and what it shows for a 3 is definitely not what we need. It looks like we're going to have a lot of extra rod ends, which is good because if it's like in the other kit, rod ends are going to be something that you end up snapping. Looks like it's these little dudes here though. I highly doubt these are going to snap because if you look, these look like that same like flexi gray graphite that's a little flexy but super hard, kind of like what AE uses. But these look a little bit more reinforced because they have this like ridge that runs around the outer edge of them too, so it's not just the conical shape, and then they're even concave shape on the bottom to give it more of a pivot. It's a really interesting design of a rod end. I don't know if you can really tell in this camera or in this one that shape, but they're very interesting. I've not seen anything designed like that before. So where did I put my side cutters? Here we go. So we're going to need this one here that's, it says number 6 on this tree. Oh, by the way, those rear hubs I found out are for the S12-2. I had a feeling that might be what they were. I wasn't 100% sure if it was an alternate rear hub, so it kind of is since it's for the 12-2. You could technically say it might be an alternate, but I know that this is a totally redesigned kit from the 12-2. There's very few parts that are interchangeable. It just so happens to be that the steering block is one of those parts. All right, so now I usually grab my 2mm and put it through the hole right there, just to give me something to hang on to. And you're gonna screw this in. And if you notice, it says you need a 1 millimeter gap. And it even gives you a 1-to-1 ratio right here, where it shows you to have a 1 millimeter gap, but at a 90-degree angle. And you may be thinking to yourself, how do I get a 1 millimeter gap? Even if I'm lining it up with that, 1 millimeter is hard to do. So this is my kind of cheater's way of doing it, because I don't like having to measure it out either. I take a 1 millimeter ball stud washer, gosh, I hate pollen. It's January and I can't get away from pollen. It's ridiculous. Oklahoma is awful for that. All right, so this 1 millimeter ball stud washer, you just slide it on like so. And look, now you have your 1 millimeter space. And put your other end of your rod ends of your steering linkage on. Your steering linkage. Give it a twisty twisty. Looks like that's pretty much where she's going to stop. It's a little warm, so. All right, and we've got 90 degrees, one facing down and one facing us, which is what we want. So just like that. Okay, just like that. And when we put it on there, she matches exactly. A little off of 90. There it is. So now that part's done. I'm actually going to go ahead and set this aside for a moment, because we're going to be working on this guy. Oh, we need our servo mounts. My goodness, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I believe that's on the same tree as our front end shim. 22008. Yep, 22008. There it is. That broke off nice and clean. Do we need the rings? Nope, don't need the shim rings. Doesn't say we do anyway. So I don't think we will. So those will break right off of there. It's like a fan mount on there too. Interesting. I know our front bumper is on there, but. All right, and pointy side faces up. And grab your screwdriver or your screw gun, either one. Start one, don't tighten it. The reason I say that is if you tighten it all the way, you're not ever going to get this one in. So I like to do that. Make sure that they're all the way up against the servo itself. If we need to, we can loosen them up a touch to put the top panel on. Probably going to have to be honest with you. And see, that one's probably just a little bit, nope, it still moves. Okay. But it's not fully lined up, so I'm going to loosen this up just a tick. Just to give that one a little bit more room to move around. And the reason being is if you look here, they actually have a little bit of up and down movement to them. And that's so that if different manufacturers have different tolerances, there's still enough play there that they can get that tolerance in. But it's not too much to where you can't do it at all, you know. All right, loosen those up just a touch. Now, if you look, your carbon fiber piece, it actually has a concave on one side. And that is going to face up because your shorties, I'm guessing, the short shorts, 1A08007, 6 mils. Yes, so your short shorts, your little 6 millimeter length guys are going to go in there. Use our hand driver to tighten them because I don't ever like cranking down on carbon fiber. Okay. Now we can tighten these all the way. Oop. Cool. So now our servo mount is on our servo. And this guy here is going to snap on oh, I faced it the wrong direction. Oh, I think it's facing the wrong direction in the picture. Because it wants one side facing this and one side facing down, which means I need to have it like that. And yes, I just did that with my hands without a wrench. I don't know if I'm going to get it on here without a wrench, though. This is pretty snug. Oh, yeah. I mean, I gave it a little dent, but that's nothing major. All right. So now we have 3? Why do we have 3? Oh, because the factory servo horn is concave, and that's why you have this. So we're not going to need this one. So we will for sure put this in our extra bag, because I've got a button head inside the head of my servo horn. I say it only needs 2 to fasten it on, so. All right. And then this is where it gets interesting because you're trying to line up in the shadows. And you gotta line the holes up just right. Now hold your tongue right like a fiffin. And 2 on the tongue. That's right. Get that in. This one's still lined up. Good. There we go. Now, if you look, we got our servo sitting in there nice and pretty. Nice and pretty. And we can just lock this on here. And then give it a squeeze. Hey. Oh. I see. Hey. Oh. That one was on there tight. Actually whited my thumb. That was tight. If you're wondering what servo like I said, what servo I'm going to run in here is the SB2267. I'm going to be running it at, I doubt I'm going to run it 8.4, probably going to run it at 7.4, and at 7.4 it's 347 ounces at 0.08. At 8.4 it's 444 ounces at 0.06, and it's a brushless servo. This one here is not brushless. So it's digital, but it's not brushless. The brushless servos are so much smoother, and they're not orange. They're black and silver, which is awesome. Can't wait to put that in here. It's just going to look clean. It's going to be clean. If you're wondering about this, this is super simple to do. You literally just grab your driver, stick it around the wire, and then pull tight. So you just start working your way around with your wire like this end that's not curly-cued. You're going to do that all the way down the whole wire. And then just make sure that she's pulled nice and tight like so. Just give it the little twist like you used to do to your wrapping paper tubes as a kid and newspapers and whatnot to make telescopes. And pull your screwdriver out and you got a curlicue. So if you're not wanting to resolder and shorten wires because you don't know if you're going to use this for, let's say for instance for this, I know I'm putting a low pro in here. If I don't want to shorten the wires because this might go in a crawler or something down the road, you know. I want this full length because I may have it up here and then have to plug in back here. I don't know, so I'm not going to want to cut this down. That's just a way of shortening it without cutting it down, because then I can just pull it and it's right back out to full length. So that is just a nice little way of making a shorter wire without shortening the wire. Up next, we're going to need, 4 3x10s. Which is these guys. There's our 4 3x10 countersunks. And then we need 2 3x16 button heads, so the long guys. I believe that was these guys here if I measured them. No, that was the last bag. That's right, this is different. So let's see which ones this is. Perf. Need 3 of those, and there's 3 in here. That probably could have been a giveaway, since I needed 3 and there's 3 of these. They looked like they were the right length overall. I just wanted to make sure. Obviously, I could have opened them up and set them on here and been like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. But I decided to measure before I cut it open. You know, it is what it is. All right, so next we're going to need the front shock tower, which is right here. With our 5 hole placements. Super awesome to see that. And then we need this little curve up doodad guy. See, it goes upside down like so. Like that. Because that is going to go in there like so. In there like so. Like Bobby Joe. I don't know who that is, but it rhymes. Sometimes you just do things because it rhymes. All right. And so we need that over here, this over here, and then we need our top deck, which has a triangular piece right here that slips down in here, and then has our back over there. Let's see which way it wants to go first. Triangle first or the back first? Let's try to do the back first. Nope. Okay, let's try to do the triangle first. Does it snap? Oh, it's a nice smooth press in. Gotcha. So it smooth presses down in there. And then our 3x16s are for this guy. Nice to see good long screws in here, not shorties. Whoops. Sometimes it helps if you make sure things are lined up. It's my first time. Perfect. You know, in the words of Derek Bierry, I just pretend we didn't see that. All right, so then this lines up with our top holes, right? Yep. So we'll put our bottom ones in first. Well, at least line the bottom ones in first, and then we can put it fully in once it's there. So we can hold this up. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, hang on, if you're putting screws in there, where does the wing go? Because usually the wing mounts to the front shock tower. You'd be correct. Except for on this one. This little plastic piece that we're putting on the front is the wing mount. See the holes? Perf. I don't know why I'm saying perf. Like, why did I start doing that all of a sudden? It's giving Gen Z. Like, oh my gosh. All right, so obviously we're still in bag E because we've got a lot of parts here. We are going to, oh geez, 3x16 countersunks. There's only one long countersunk in here, so it's got to be these. Yup, I'd say that's probably them. If it's not, it's got a good chance of being. Then we need 3x3s. Four 3x3s. Okay, 4 3x3s. And 2 2.5 by 5s. Itty bitties. So those are 3x5s. So we need these little guys here. Those cute little ones. I don't know why I cut the side of it thinking I'm going to get all 4 out. I only need 2 of them. These are the ones you got to be careful you don't split the head on. I've already opened. Did I already open this bag? I did. So we're going to need our arms. There's 2 different arms in here. So we got to figure out which one's which. So we've got curvy arms and curvy arms with outside holes. Say inside holes the front. 222003. 222003. S. Yep, they're stamped with S right there. And these are 222004S. So I'm going to say these are probably for the rear. Just going to snap these things off of here and put them back in so I don't have to snap them in a little bit. Oh, that's the wrong thing. That's trash. That's part. We need that. Probably going to need this. We're just going to set it there. Oh yeah, the front bumper. The hinge pin brace. Which is carbon fiber? Really? That's cool. I'm sorry, I'm just still used to seeing plastic hinge pin braces. This thing's carbon fiber. Oh, so cool. I like the carbon fiber. And then we need the funny looking ones, the ones with the flat spots in them. See right here? And these other ones don't have flat spots. We're just going to cut it across here, and then our turnbuckles will be over here by themselves. There we go. All right, so now go ahead and flip it upside down. Our grub screws are going to go into the hinge locker. If I can get the screwdriver in the grub screw. There we go. We're just going to start it. We're not going to tighten them down because then you won't be able to get your hinge pins through. And then you'll be like, why can't I get my hinge pins through? You're literally just going to start it. Just like once you feel it, grab and start without cross-threading. Is that cross-threading? I don't want you to cross-thread. It might be a little bit. I don't know that this is actually a black material. It may be regular aluminum. So it's just been anodized. So it might be a little bit of just stickiness from the anodization as well, because you can get that sometimes. It might not actually be cross-threading, because this one, yeah, it's just stickiness in there, because once I got past it, it went right smooth. Just a little stickiness from anodizing. It happens with every brand. That's just part of anodizing. Powder coating is even worse. If you ever had anything powder coated, it's atrocious. What's the orientation on our arms? Sway link ball is going to face the front with the spring location, yes, in the rear. It's going to go like so then. Oh, you know what? Put the screw in first. I almost forgot that. Don't do what I almost did. Put that screw in first. Oh no. I said an 050. So this little screw, which goes in your hinge pin brace, says that's 2.5, but that can't be 2.5 because that doesn't screw. That just falls in there. That's a 2. Oh, that's a 2. That's a tiny. Okay. I might not need this after all. We'll see. But I'm going to put that with those because those are an 050. They're not even a 1.5. That's crazy. I haven't seen 050 in a long, long time. Cut this off of here so those are separate. Those are there. Okay. All right, so these should be 1.5s. That's what I'm used to seeing a 1.5, but those other ones were 2, not 2.5 millimeters, so they were an 050. That's the wrench size. Very tiny wrench size. And wrenchy, 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 wrench until it stops, and then you stop. Grab your other one, and you get it in there. And you put it on, and you start it, and you go wrenchy, 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 wrench, 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 stop. You stop. Don't go with the head of them. Okie dokie. Okay. So we got like this and like this. So we know that those goes on like so. I also almost forgot that on that 22008 tray. That's this guy here. See, 22008 is these. You need these. These are for your sways. Tiny end goes in the arm, big end goes on the ball. So you're gonna fight that just a little bit to get it down in there and get it onto that ball. You may need to use some leverage. So if you want to know the trick as to what I did on that, I made sure that the open end was facing the ball. Kind of just finagled it in there until it was in place where it needed to be. And once it's in there, it's kind of wedged in, I just jammed this in there like so. See how that's in there? And then I just use the arm to its advantage and pull. And then the pressure pushes it over and on. So those are in. And then we may have to use the pliers to get these ends on there. Oh no, that came out. Oh no. Remember I said, I don't need to use thread lock on that. Yeah, silly me. All right, so now, since I got this on my hand, we'll start over here. You're just gonna line up that like so. You're gonna get this in here. As you can see, there's a flat spot on here, but there's nowhere to grab the flat spot. It's just gonna slide through all the way through. Shouldn't be any tightness here. Nope. Is it in the back of the arm? Perfect. Now we're going to snug these down. Now see, it does need the arm reamer, because what it should do is it should flop on the arm without the hinge pin needing to be loose. But on this, because it needs the arm reamer ran through it, you gotta loosen the hinge pins for it to be floppy. You want that arm to flop because that's how you get proper suspension movement. So that's a small issue, not a big one. It can be fixed with an arm reamer. Hoodie makes a nice arm reamer, and so does Aeromax. Just something to keep an eye on or a thought about as you're going forward. So I'm just going to take all these and drive them down so that they're in all the way. And then I'm going to back them off half a turn. Perf. Why do I keep doing that? That's what we want. That's what we want. All right, and then we're going to put this on like so. Now you may be wondering why I'm doing this upside down when the manual clearly shows it upright. I don't want to be screwing like this. I want to screw like this so I can see what I'm doing. So then that is going to go on there, but first this is going to go over these. Maybes. Why does that look like it's off center? Because there's a burr. And that's why I'm always talking about making sure you're shaving the burrs. Now, would a 1/4 millimeter of a burr on the front bracing make that much of a difference? No. But aesthetically, to me, it does. Even though I now can't see it. It's covered. All right. So now these are going to go in here. All right, now we're going to flip this back over, and we're going to connect our sway links. Which may be easier said than done, to be quite honest with you. Because sway links can be a bear. I hate doing this. I don't like marring things up, but you just sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Know what I mean? And that's exactly what I was afraid of. There we go. And scratch my aluminum a little bit. Darn. These will come into play here in just a minute because we'll need those. Those are for your caster blocks, I'm assuming. On most cars they are, to move your wheelbase forward and backward. Might be for the rear, but usually you can do it on the front as well. Usually got 1 millimeter adjustment, roughly. Do I need anything in here? Why am I even looking in here? I don't need anything in here. I need, oh yes I do. I do, because I saw these. That's what my brain was doing. So there's our Ackerman plates. Sorry, I was just kind of looking at the build process. Just looking at the build process. Okay. I'll go ahead and empty this bag out here. There's all kinds of spacers in there. Oh, we are going to need these. These are our steering blocks. Starring blocks. Like I said, these are rear blocks for the 12.2 or 12-2. All right, so there's our steering blocks, our Ackerman plates. Do I need anything on here? Yes, we'll need our pill inserts. And it wants us to use the zeros. I like how these are actually cut to where they divot in and not keep a burr out because these are so small it's hard to cut burrs off of. Looks like you will have a 2.5 and a 5 available as well, and you can go positive or negative. It even says right here. Just remember that there is a 0, 2.5, and 5, and they can be made to go to -5, -2.5, and 0. And the less angle, the faster the response. There's something to help with your steering. We're starting out with 0. So we're right in the middle, so we can move up or down and increase our steering response if needed. I'll keep this over here for now, I guess. So there's our zeros. And then in this baggie is our caster blocks, which we'll give a little shave to. most definitely graphite. They have that. Listen. That almost sounds like a file. And here I am sliding on X-Acto close to my... My goodness, what a... Kids, don't put X-Actos near your face, or your throat especially, okay? Sorry, bad influence. All right, what else do we need here? We need bearings. We need wheel bearings. So 5x10s, is that what we're doing? 5x10x4s? Yep. 5x10x4s on the front. I think these are 5x12x4s, or are those 6x13s? Those look like 5x12s. So 5x10s here, probably 5x12s in the rear, and then 10x15 on the inside of the rear hub. That's my assumption. All right, so we need 4 ball stud links that are the 7mm ones. That's these cool titanium looking ones. So I don't know that they actually are. It doesn't say whether they are. They just look like they are, so that's why I call them that. They are titanium colored. 2 M3 lock nuts. Let's go ahead and pull all 4 of them out. 34028, a crush spacer. Should be 2 of them. Here they are. These are axle tubes, crush tubes, whatever you might want to call them. Got those, and then a pin. There's a pin in here somewhere. And our hexes. Oh, here's what our little guys are for. 2x6s, there they are. 2x6s. They are for our hexes. And we do need our front axles. Go ahead and pull those out. And then are the 5x7s or the 4x7s the front? 334010. Let's do a double check to be sure. All right, so 4.7 is nominal. So on an SWORKz, a 4.7 hex is just wheel hex. That's all it is. This one is a 5.7. This one is listed as a +1. So just something that's for me to note as well as you to note is if you're building any SWORKz kit that's a 10th scale, because this also is the same for the front of the 4-wheel drive, for the 3 anyway. I'm not sure about the 4. We'll find out. More on that to come. So the 4.7 is the front, the 5.7 is the rear, because these are the +1. So good to notate that as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab this tiny driver and at least set these screws in here before I knock them off the table and lose them somewhere, because that's my luck. Which is the main reason I actually got out all 4 of the 12mm hexes. Since I know that these are for these, I can go ahead and just get them taken care of. Set that aside, set those over there. Cool. All right, once we get the front end done, this is going to be it for this week's video, and then next week we'll start on the rear end. So I believe this is the last for the front end, is this, and then step 16. Yep, and then so step 17 will start on the rear end, and we'll do that next week. So let's go ahead and finish out steps 15 and 16 and wrap this one up. All right, so our casters, we're going to go ahead and the double dots for the ball studs, the top side, and it does say L on this one and R on this one, so that is how you know left and right. So we're going to go ahead and put it to where your little line nub faces down, because that is how you know that it's 0 and down. 0 and down actually is 0. 0 and up is, guess what? You guessed it, 0. And these do fit in here rather tightly, so getting them out at the track, you may need to use a little force, okay? Remember, everything you do on here is going to be each side the same. So each side is going to look like this. Do these steering blocks say left or right on them? Or are they just hit me with your best shot? Oh, they're the same. Okay, because see, there's a notch on the top and a notch on the bottom, so it doesn't matter. They can go to either side. Just make sure that you're putting your Ackerman plates on correctly. All right, so first off, we're going to start with our left. So left facing us, the L facing us, I should say. So the slide inside on this side. And then you're going to make sure that this goes this way, okay? So that's going to fit just like that. You're going to have a bearing in each end of this. This is going to go through it. Oh, our pins. We forgot to get our pins. Sorry, I forgot to get my pins. You might have your pins. Those are right here. And you're gonna need 2 of these. This one just keeps going back and forth. Let's just do this. There we go. I'll set that there, just make sure we don't lose our pins in the carpet. Yeah, and these better may have a magnet, because if you drop these in the carpet, you're done. You're gonna need that on each side as well. So there's this side in a ball right there. Stop moving. Ah! We need outer hole is where they want 1 ball stud. No washer. Neither of these are going to have washers. So just so you know, you're putting these together with no washer. That graphite gets hot. Normally I wouldn't do that, but graphite's so hard I don't want it to split, and getting it that hot, I want to make sure that all these little nylon threads of graphite and nylon are coming out and not getting stuck in there and then melting. That would be very unfortunate. Like I said, we're going to do 2 of these, so I'm just going to do everything simultaneously to each side. There we go. Next thing you're going to need is your 2 mil, and you're going to need your 5.5 nut driver as well. And the reason being is once we get into this next part, you're going to need those. All right, so our Ackerman plate. So this is going to face away from us, like so. Okay. So our Ackerman plate, as you can see, there's only one way it can fit on. So if you're like me and you're looking at this and you think that the small beveled side should face out, it does not. It faces in. The flat side faces out. I do that on every kit I ever build because all steering blocks pretty much all have that same general shape. And I do that on every one of them. I don't know why I always do that same thing. Oh, we forgot our hardware. My goodness. Let's get back up, Jordan. So we've got our 2 2x6s. We need 4 3x8s. So 4 3x8s, button heads, by the way, not countersunks, button heads. So 2 over here and 2 over here. Okay. And then we need 2 3x12s and then 2 3x14s. These long guys here should be our 14s. Actually, I put an 8 in with my 10s. Hang on, let me fix that just so I'm not tripping later. All right, so those are 14. Yes, so the ones that we have 2 of, those are 14s. And then these guys here probably are 12s. We need 2 of these as well. M3 lock nut, cool. That's all I was missing. That's all I was missing for hardware. Let's get back to business here. And go on here. Remember, not do what I just did again. If that go this way. You need your 2 shorter guys, your 3x8s. You're going to go through the carbon fiber and into the block. And no, I didn't use it. I just held it just enough that the motor was turned on so that I could use it like a screwdriver, and my hand tightened the last bit. And there is room for, you know, if you wanted to put, like I like to put my pink washers in there to make it look cool. You can do that too. You can do that too. All right, so then we also need our top hat and bottom hat, which are these guys here. I know I'm doing a lot of useless cutting, but I'm trying to keep the desk looking a little bit cleaner so that you guys aren't just seeing a pile of parts laying around because, I mean, let's face it, bag E was a massive bag. So we're going to go ahead and put our bearings in. Our drive axle goes through the back. Don't get ahead of yourself, because then you might accidentally poke your hand like I almost did. The crush tube goes in here first. And then there's a bearing. That way that axle has full support all the time. And then this pin goes through the hole in the axle. And then this goes on there. And then we'll use where'd our little Allen wrench go? There it is. All right, so we'll use our tiny Allen wrench to screw this down. And that's about all the tighter you need to be on those. All right. Cool. All right, so then do they want the fat one on the top or the skinny one? All right, so the 3.2 goes to the top and the 1.5 goes to the bottom. So this one's 1.5 millimeter thickness and this one is 3.2 millimeter thickness. You can flip those and then it changes the height of the spindle. And then that changes the height of the front end of the car without changing anything else, really. I guess I could have gone a little bit tighter on that, couldn't I? There we go. Literally just a quarter turn is all it took. Any more than that, I probably would have snapped it. All right, so then you're going to work this in whoop, without falling those out, which is easier said than done. And the good thing is once it's in there, it's kind of wedged. So then you can get 12 millimeter on the top, 14 millimeter through the bottom? Really? I would have thought it was the other way around since it's the thicker. But we're not. All right, so 12 millimeter in the top it is. Here we go. Fire in the hole. Long one on the bottom. Fire in the hole. Also be very careful because if your thumb is like this, when that grabs, it'll pinch right there so hard it will cut this right here and into your thumb. Ask me how I know. Always just hold it open and nice and flat like that so you got a good grip on it. Okay, all right, so then your last ball stud is going to go on here and it looks like it's going to go, is that in the furthest hole? Nope, the nearest hole. So the top one, right there. That's when you get your 5.5 on the bottom. It'll stop once it hits the nylock, so you'll know when it's time for your wrench. And then you can twist both at the opposite directions like this, and it'll tighten it twice as fast. So there is one steering block done. See there? Cool. There's one steering block done. On the next page, on the final step for the front end, we're going to actually mount it. This one's a little stiffer than the other one. The compression on it was a little bit tighter. I had to actually spread it when I put this in there. But as it works, it'll work itself out of that. You just don't want to crush those aluminum tubes. There is our left and right. So now we're going to flip the page. Say, here I am. Turn the page. And then we're going to need 2.5 by 5s, so our other two 2.5 by 5s, which is these are the guys here that I thought were too big to be the others one. These are 2s that are going in here. And then we need our 2 rear hinge pins, which these are to scale so we can line up with the sheet here. So the shorter ones here. What we need for the outside of the front. Let's go in from the back because the front of the arm is actually small enough that it won't go through. Make sure you got your left on your left and your right on your right. And then we do need 2 of our little plastic circles here. So it's going to have us set it up for long wheelbase. So what that means is, I'm going to do it this way so you can see it in the camera a little better. We're going to take our hinge pin like this. We're going to slide it in here. And we're going to get that little plastic washer that's the same size as that on there. See, like so. See how that's on there like that? And you're going to pull that out until it's almost flush. You're going to take your, we're working on the left side. It's upside down, so this is the left side. And you're going to squeeze this in here while pushing this through. And then that was going to stop in the front. And that's going to sit right there. And then you're just going to take the little set screw right here. And you're going to use your 1.5 and put it in that hole there. And then your hinge pin's in place and your arm can't go nowhere. Just picking it up so it's not scratchy in the microphone there. I don't mind if I'm building this by myself if I get a little bit of a, you know, carbon fiber on paper towel noise, but not when there's other people listening too. I try to keep these as, you know, maybe not as serious as they should be, but I try to keep them not annoying other than my antics. I mean, my antics are annoying enough, right? I'm sure my mom said that a lot growing up. Mom, you watch all these videos. Did you? Did you say I was annoying a lot growing up? I don't remember. Probably. I could think about some of the things I've done, and I'm pretty sure you said I was annoying at a timer 50. And there we go. Front steering blocks are in place. And that's it for our front end build video. We will go ahead and call it done for this one, and we'll start on the rear end in the next one. So until next time, keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up, and remember to stay in the groove.